Also making news in politics, a new development in the negotiations over how to avoid the fiscal cliff. President Obama and House Speaker John Boehner spoke over the phone yesterday. It appears new offers from both sides are on the table. Joining us this morning from Washington, Edward Isaac Dovere, Deputy White House Editor for Politico. Isaac, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Terrell.
So both sides exchanging these new fiscal cliff deals. Yeah, sure. Also making news in politics, a new development in the negotiations over how to avoid the fiscal cliff. President Obama and House Speaker John Boehner spoke over the phone yesterday. It appears new offers from both sides are on the table. Joining us from Washington this morning, Edward Isaac Dovere, Deputy White House Editor for Politico. Isaac, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Terrell.
Both sides exchanging these new fiscal cliff proposals. What does the offer this time from the president? How does that differ from the one that we saw last time?
Well, what the president has done is dropped his revenue demand from 1.6 trillion to 1.4 trillion, which lowers the amount of taxes that would need to be collected to cover that, obviously. And that's come at the same time that the House Republicans have made their own counteroffer again that has put $800 billion in revenue on the table with about $1 trillion in cuts. So they're still about $600 billion apart, and that's no small thing.
So what's the response been from the White House? What's the response been from Republicans on both of these offers put on the table?
Well, they're both saying that they are not great signs of progress. The House Speaker was on the floor Tuesday saying that he does not see a serious effort from the president. The president went on TV on Tuesday night and said that he's pretty confident that things will get done and that we won't go over the fiscal cliff, but he's not sure yet, and he wants to see where they're going. So it is not yet the handshake moment.
But we do have two different proposals on the table from both sides. We have discussions that are continuing in private. Is it fair to say that we are seeing some progress, even in small part here?
We're seeing a continuing conversation. It's certainly not the case that both sides have walked away from the table and won't pick up the phone to call the other. But what we are not seeing is a real framework for what this is going to look like. It's starting to become clear, or even more clear, where the lines are, and that we're going to end up obviously somewhere in between $800 billion in revenue and $1.4 trillion in revenue. But where exactly that's going to be and what the cuts will be to Medicare and Medicaid along the way, that's not clear yet. What the tax rates are going to be when this is all done, which deductions get removed, those are all questions that have not yet been sorted out in the deep detail that they'll need to be in order to avoid going off the fiscal cliff at the end of the year.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid came out the other day and he said this, and I quote, "It would be extremely difficult to pass a fiscal cliff deal before Christmas." The president and the speaker hoping to have that done by Christmas. Is that a realistic deadline?
Well, the fiscal cliff comes into play on December 31st, so there's not all that much time before Christmas or after Christmas to get this done. They are looking at a situation where it's very possible that they will be negotiating down to the wire. Most people are expecting at this point. There's some feeling that we may be going over the cliff, but at this moment it does seem like most of the people involved are committed to trying to get a deal done before New Year's and before Christmas.
Another hot political topic, of course, we're going to be talking about it all morning long. It's that right-to-work legislation signed into law in Michigan. Tens of thousands of people coming out and protesting. Are we seeing a repeat here in Michigan? Is this what happened in Wisconsin? How are they different?
Well, in the way that the images from Lansing and the ones from Wisconsin looked 2 years ago, it does seem very similar. We're seeing labor protesters storming the Capitol and really making a big protest here as the legislature and the governor agree to make legislation go through here that it does a lot to limit the rights of unions. So So far, it does seem like we're seeing a little bit of a repeat here. What that means going forward and how much of a repeat for all the things that happened in Wisconsin after that bill was made into law in Wisconsin, I'm not sure yet, and I don't think anyone knows.
The president has already come out and said he is not in support of this legislation. What's the White House response been?
Well, the White House response, the president was in Detroit on Monday. He is in this fight to the extent that it seems like he's going to be in it in a much stronger way than he was when it came to the Wisconsin situation. He said that people who are looking to change the right to work laws are really trying to make it the right to work for less money. So he is rhetorically in favor of what the unions are doing here. And it seems like to the extent that he can exercise the bully pulpit, putting that behind the effort, which is a significant change from where things were in the Wisconsin situation, where the president wasn't involved and stayed out even when it came to the recall election for the governor there, Scott Walker, earlier in the summer.
Edward Isaac Dovere, Deputy White House Editor for Politico, joining us this morning. Isaac, thank you so much.
Thank you.